ready, expecting God's going to show up. He's going to put a deposit in your life. And so open up your Bibles to James chapter 3. I do have a word from the Lord for you tonight. And we're going to be reading from James chapter 3. While you're turning there, I want to just share a little story with you that I heard this week. A cute little story that goes along with the message tonight. And a story about a little boy who went to the beach one day to spend a day at the beach playing. Just a young little tyke. And as he got to the beach, he began to walk along the beach, kind of looking at everybody else that was there. And he was looking over them very closely and kind of analyzing them, and finally spotted a lady that got his attention. And so he walked up to the lady and looked at her very intently, and he said to the lady, "Ma'am." And the lady looked up at the little boy, and the little boy said, "Do you go to church?" The woman, a little bit surprised, kind of looked at the boy, puzzled at the question, but said, "Well, matter of fact, I do go to church." He said, "Well, do you go every Sunday?" The woman, a little bit even more puzzled, said, "Well, yeah, I usually go every Sunday." Why are you asking the question? "Well, do you pray?" "Yeah, I pray." "Do you pray every day?" "Well, yeah, I pretty much pray every day." "What is it? Why are you asking these questions?" "Well, do you read the Bible?" "Yes, I read the Bible." "Do you read it every day?" "Yes, I read it every day." "Why are you asking this question?" "Well, I was wondering if you would hold my quarter for me while I go play." He was looking for somebody he could trust with the treasure that he had. That little quarter probably was all he had, and he wanted to make sure whoever held that quarter was somebody he could trust. Well, God is looking down at us, and he's looking for the one who he can trust to give a treasure much greater than 25 cents, to give us a life and a purpose, a destiny. And everyone here tonight, everyone watching, God has noticed you, and he's given you life, and he's given you purpose and destiny, a treasure that he's invested in us, that he's entrusted in us, and it's our assignment to live out that life and fulfill purpose and destiny. I want to talk to you tonight about fulfilling purpose and destiny. Pastor Paul and Pastor Sharon have been sharing the last few weeks about a fresh start as we start this year, and that God is a God of not only a second chance, but a third, a fourth, a fifth chance, that he is ready always to give those who need a fresh start. And if you needed a fresh start this year, I believe with what's been shared and what's been preached, you're starting out with a fresh beginning this year. And the good news is, no matter what time of the year is, you don't have to wait till January. If things go awry, God's ready to give you a fresh start anytime. His mercies are new every morning. Every day is a new day with God. And he is a God of a fresh start. But God is also interested in how we finish. You know, at some point, you got to get off the starting line. A good start's important. How you start can definitely impact how you finish. But what matters is how you finish. And I want to talk to you tonight as you start out fresh this year to give you the insight, to give you the key tonight of being on the path, on the course, on the direction that God has for your life, and to be able to get to the finish line. God wants you to finish strong, to fulfill purpose and to fulfill destiny. And tonight, I'm going to share with you, just in a few minutes here, the key. And the key of staying on course, the key of going the direction God has for you, is the words that you speak. Your words are the rudder of your life. Turn to somebody and just tell them, say, your words are the rudder of your life. What in the world is a rudder? A rudder is a part of a ship or a part of a plane that determines the course, the direction of that ship. A huge ship, the course of that ship, its direction is dependent upon how that rudder is set. And the rudder's direction is set by the captain of that boat, of that ship. Whatever direction the captain tells that rudder to go, if there's somebody steering it or if he's steering it himself, whatever direction he sets that rudder, that's the direction the ship goes. Now here's the importance of that. The direction of the ship will ultimately determine its destination. The words we speak are our rudder. The words we speak will determine our direction. The words we speak will determine the course of our life. Got a question for you. What direction is your rudder sending you? What are the words that you are speaking? You see, if you don't like where you are right now, in your life, in your marriage, with your children, in your job, if things aren't going the way you want them to go, I've got good news for you. You can change them. See, where you are right now is a product of the words you spoke yesterday, the week before, the month before, last year. Where you're going to be tomorrow is going to be determined by the words you speak today. The words you speak are the rudder of your ship. James chapter 3, this is exactly what the writer James was talking about. James chapter 3, we're going to read verse 2 through 4, part of 5. Says, anyone who does not stumble in word, he is a perfect man, able also to bridle or control the whole body. Indeed, we put bits in horses' mouth that they may obey us, and we turn their whole body. Look also at ships. Although they are so large and driven by fierce winds, they are turned by a very small rudder. Everybody say rudder. That's where we get this word tonight. Your words are the rudder of your ship, of your life. A very small rudder, wherever the pilot desires, even so the tongue. James compares the words we speak, our tongue, this very small part of our body, as that like a rudder of a ship. Just as the rudder determines the direction and course of the ship, James is saying our tongue, the words that we speak, are going to determine the direction of our life, the course of our life, ultimately the destination. We need to understand the importance of our words and how the words we speak direct our life. Let me give you a couple more definitions of rudder so we understand what we're talking about. This is from the Webster Dictionary, and Webster gives us three definitions. The first one, that it is an underwater blade that is positioned at the stern of a boat or ship and controlled by its captain, and that when turned causes the vessel to turn in that direction. The second definition is a movable auxiliary airfoil on an airplane, usually attached at the rear end, that serves to control the direction of flight. The third says a rudder is a guiding force or strategy. Your words are a guiding force for your life. Think about the words you speak. Think about the things that you say. Are they words that bring life? Are they words that bring hope? Are they words that bring blessing? See, Proverbs tells us that death and life are in the power of the tongue. See, the words you speak are important. They are critical. They have tremendous impact in your life. What kind of impact? Well, the Bible says they can either bring death or they can bring life. How many of you want death? How many of you want life? Do you understand? You have the power of choice here. Every day, throughout the day, the things that you speak are going to determine whether or not you're releasing life or you're releasing death. Do you know the words you speak will either release blessing or cursing? The words that we speak have power. Let me just read a few verses out of the Bible. I mean, there are literally almost 100 verses about the words we speak. I'm going to read about 7 or 8 of them so that you can understand how important what we say is and how it determines the course of our life. Psalm 34:13 says, keep your tongue from evil and your lips from speaking deceit. Proverbs 21:23 says, whoever keeps his mouth and his tongue keeps himself out of trouble. How many of you want to keep out of trouble? Right there. Just learn how to keep your tongue. Ephesians 4:29 says, let no corrupt talking come out of your mouth, but only such as is good for building up, as fits the occasion, that it may give grace to those who hear it. Your words ought to be building people up, not tearing people down. Your words ought to be releasing grace and seasoning and blessing into people's life. Proverbs 17:28 says, even a fool, watch this, even a fool who keeps silent is considered wise when he closes his lips. Sometimes it's better just not to say anything. Psalm 141, nobody look at anybody right now. Just be looking at your Bible, looking at me. Psalm 141:3 says, set a guard, O Lord, over my mouth. Keep watch over the door of my lips. How many think that's a good prayer? Lord, help us. Guard what we say. Proverbs 10:19, when words are many, transgression is not lacking, but whoever restrains his lips is prudent. Don't look at anybody. Some people think they've got the gift of gab. Like to talk a lot. Here it says, there's no good in a lot of talking. It's better to keep your talking limited. Keep the words limited. Why? Matthew 15:11. It's not what goes into the mouth that defiles a person, but what comes out of the mouth that defiles a person. See, your words have tremendous impact in your life. You want to finish purpose? You want to finish destiny? You want to fulfill God? How many of you want to fulfill God's plan for your life? Listen, God's plan for your life is not a straight line. It does not come without obstacles and opposition. You've got to know how to navigate through life. You are a ship on the ocean of life. And the rudder of that ship is the word you speak. And whatever you're releasing out of that mouth is directing you in a direction, whether you like it or not. Whatever you've spoken sets something in course, in action, and you move that direction. We've got to learn how to control the words that we speak, begin to watch. Lord, put a watch over my lips. We've got to begin to understand that every idle word, Jesus said, is going to be judged. This is not a small message that we're talking about here tonight. It is the difference between death and life, the difference between blessing and cursing. There are people's lives that have been destroyed because of words spoken over their life. People are hurting because of words spoken into their life. There are people's lives that are on the road of destruction because of the things that they're speaking over their life. They're releasing words of death and cursing into their life. And if there's one thing I don't want one person that's a part of this church, not one who's watching, to live a life of destruction, but I want you to live a life of blessing, a life that's full of life. And here's the key: the words you speak. Not only do the words that you speak determine the direction of your life, but it affects the lives of people around you. The words you speak impact every area of life. See, if you're here tonight, business person, businesswoman, businessman, and you want to see your business go to another level, take what I'm sharing tonight. Let the Holy Spirit put His super on this natural word, and you begin to speak over your business, and you watch it turn around. You want sales to multiply, salesperson? Begin to speak God's word. Release it. Don't speak death. Don't speak destruction. Speak life into what you're doing. Mom and Dad, you want to see your kids fulfill purpose and destiny? You want to see those children rise up to be godly children who hear the voice of God and whose steps are ordered of the Lord? You begin to release life into them by the words you speak over them. God's assigned you as parents to train them up in the admonition of the Lord. Not to beat them up, but to train them up. Not to destroy them, but to lift them up. You have the power in this little thing called the tongue to release blessing into their life. Yeah, they may need correction. That's part of the job. But with correction with the spirit of love, the spirit of reproving, lifting them up, building them up. Husband and wife, marriage ain't what you want it to be, not what it used to be, struggling in it. I've got the key to turn it around. Start speaking blessing over your husband, over your wife. You don't know what she's like. Didn't say anything about what she was like or what he was like. That's not the deal. The deal is whether or not you want blessing or cursing, whether you want life or death. It's in what you speak. We release life by the words we speak, every area of it. The word you speak, your words, are the rudder of your life. The things that you release out of your mouth have tremendous power. There is power in your words. Not only do the words we speak determine the direction of our life, not only are our words the rudder of our life, but the words we speak, when you speak forth God's word, the words that we let out of our mouth is what releases the force of faith into our life. 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 13 says that the spirit of faith is I believe and therefore I believe and therefore I. That's the spirit of faith. This message about the words we speak, and understand it's in the context of setting the course of our life, navigating through the perils of life, that ocean that you're on, the icebergs and the giants and the storms that are on the ocean of life. They're there, but you don't have to fear them. You don't have to be concerned about them. You can navigate through them. God will direct your steps. In fact, He knows the beginning from the end. He knows every crook and every corner and every turn that's in your life. He knows every mountain. He knows every valley. He knows every situation that you're going to encounter. It's not going to take Him by surprise, but He is looking for you to believe and trust Him and to live your life by faith and to set the course of your life by the words you speak, so you can then navigate around those storms, through those storms, to overcome them, to get you to where the ram is in the thicket. Listen, when you're going up one side of the mountain, God's on the other side putting your supply in place if you'll just get there. There is a place called there. There is a little widow woman someplace waiting to cook a little piece of bread for you. There is a brook somewhere where there's a raven who will fly in manna, who will fly in the meat that you need if you'll get to the place called there. But you've got to be speaking God's word that says, I'm going here, I'm doing this, I am following the lead of the Lord. I'm releasing life through the words I speak. It will take you to where God wants you to go. I want you to walk out the purpose and destiny God has for your life. I want you to triumph over every giant. Listen, there's a Goliath in your life. Understand it. But don't fear it, because there's 5 smooth stones on the path if you'll get there. There's a slingshot that God's put in your hand to bring down the giant that you're facing. You want your marriage blessed? Begin to declare it. My marriage is blessed. I've got the best wife. I've got the best husband. You begin to declare. You say, you don't know my wife. Begin to call things that be not as though they were. See, the words we speak releases the force of faith. Why is this so important? Because the Bible tells us 4 different times, 4 different books, that you and I, how many believers do I have in the house tonight? Okay. This is an order from headquarters. This isn't from me, but this is from the man upstairs. Live your life by faith. Habakkuk, Romans chapter 1, verse 17, Galatians chapter, just where Pastor Sharon was reading, Galatians chapter 3, verse 11. Hebrews chapter 10, verse 38. The just, the righteous, those who are believers, live your life by faith. What is faith? Faith is simply trusting in God. Living your life trusting Him. The only way you can fulfill God's purpose, the only way you can navigate life is if you do it by faith. When you live by faith, you're going to get out of the boat and walk on the water. When you walk by faith, you're going to be able to jump in the lion's den, and faith will shut the lion's mouth. When the furnace gets hot, you're going to be able to withstand it, and there won't even be a smell of anything burnt on you. He'll bring you out of the fiery furnace. That's faith. The just shall live by faith. The word you speak, release the force of faith. I believe and therefore I speak. You got saved by that faith. Romans chapter 10, I believe in my heart and confess with my mouth that Jesus is Lord. Hey, hear the word of the Lord. Let the words that come out of your mouth be words that are filled with life, filled with grace, salted and seasoned with the grace of God, the love of God, the words that bring forth direction and blessing into your life and to those around you. And when you do, faith will be released and you'll be able to walk out the purpose and the destiny that God has for you. Hey, listen, God's got a plan for your life. And it's not a plan of destruction, but it's a plan of blessing, not to harm you, but to prosper you. It's a good plan. God's a good God. He takes you from glory to glory, strength to strength. Listen, don't be talking about the problem. Begin to release words that change the problem. Here's where the rubber meets the road. Let me take the last 15 minutes here. Get ready. I'm going to tell you. Here's the question. Here's the ultimate thing of this message. By now, hopefully you've got it. Our words are important. Our words are the rudder of our life that determine the direction. The words we speak release the force of faith. Okay, got it. How do we control this little thing called the tongue? Because James, where we just read there in chapter 3, says there's just not too many people who are able to control that little thing called the tongue. Anybody who can is a perfect man. What I'm about to tell you, every one of you can do. I'm going to give you 7 things to do to control your tongue, to control the words that you speak. And there could be a whole lot more, but I'm going to give you 7. And everything I'm going to share about this, every one of you can do. This isn't something that somebody can do. You have to be an Einstein or a Michael Jordan. It's not based upon your physical ability or your mental ability. It's your willingness to submit to the Lord. Every person can do it. James says just not too many people will. I believe this is the group, every one of you will do it. You'll begin to walk out of here tonight and say, you know what? I heard what the Spirit of God was saying, and I'm going to change my confession. I'm going to change what's coming out of my mouth. I'm going to be walking out the plan God has for me. I'm going to walk out what God has for my marriage, for my family, for my business, for my ministry. You're in ministry? You want more doors to open up? Begin to release it with your mouth. Begin to speak it. You're a businessman, you're a plumber, you begin to declare, I've got more jobs than I've got time to get to. You begin to speak it. You begin to release God's word into your life. It changes the atmosphere. It changes the environment. We ought to be the most excited, most blessed people in the world. Everybody should want to be hanging around us when we go to work, not avoiding us. There ought to be something different when we walk in. We shouldn't get caught up into the atmosphere of what goes on around us in the world. See, faith, 2 Corinthians 5:7 says, we don't walk by what we see. We don't live by what we see. We walk by faith. Faith is putting trust in God and following what God's word says and not what the circumstances say. See, this is where the challenge is. And particularly in today's world more than ever before, because we live in a world that is so caught up with fads and being politically correct and whatever the trending topic of the day is. And the political correctness of transparency and being real and telling it like it is. And so we'll just let anything come out of our mouth without thinking about it. We have to be of a different spirit. We have to understand the spirit of faith. Now, you have the choice. You have the decision. It's up to you. In fact, I encourage you to take a moment and evaluate and examine your life and the word you're speaking. Where is your weakness? This is a message for I'm preaching this to me. I've been meditating on it. God's been convicting me. I'm changing. I'm working on it. I'll be working on it tomorrow. I'll be working on it next week. I'll be working on it next year. This isn't something you get today, check it off, and you're done. You're going to be working on this every day of your life. So examine yourself. Evaluate. What kind of words? Are you one of those people that are just negative all the time? I mean, you can't find anything positive that's going on in the world around you. I mean, everything that comes out of you is negative. Or are you that critical person? Criticizing, I mean, you are the critic. You ought to go down to the Tulsa world and apply for the job of being the critic. Maybe you're that person that's that gossiper. I mean, you've got to be in on whatever's going on. I know I'm stepping on some toes. Just let the Lord take this and work in your heart. Just evaluate where you are. Or are your words filled with fear, doubt, unbelief, cynicism, apathy, discouragement? See, what's amazing is this little tongue, the words we speak, the same mouth, it can either be filled with blessing or filled with cursing. This same mouth, out of it can come death, or life can come out of it. Praise can come out of that mouth, or criticism can come out of that mouth. What's coming out of yours? Examine, and then begin to take and think about these 7 things. How do we take control of it so we aren't so negative, so we aren't so critical, so we're not gossiping, so we're not filled with fear, so we're not speaking death, so that we're not following that direction? What do we got to do? Number 1, you've got to make a decision to begin to make your words be filled with life. It's your choice. If you're not willing to discipline yourself and make the decision to start speaking, the rest of the things I'm going to share really don't mean anything. It's up to you. Are the captain of your ship. Understand that. You're the one who sets the rudder. Nobody else. It's nobody else's responsibility. It's your responsibility. You can't blame the government. See, our faith has to be in God. We put our trust in Him. And that's a big challenge today. Just a little side note. The challenge we've got right now is we've got a new religion coming into the world today. And it's called government. And people are making government their God. Government will be my healer. Government will be my source. Government will be the government. The government. I'm going to bow down and worship the government. We serve the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He's my source. He's my healer. He's my deliverer. He's my Savior. Government's not going to save you. My faith is not in my Social Security check. Don't get one anyway. It's not a problem getting a Social Security check. Not a problem having, the government's not bad. Government is ordained of God. Government is an institution that God has put in place. The issue is our faith and trust is not in government. Our trust is in the Lord. That's where faith is. And so we put our trust in Him. And we look to Him and we depend upon Him. And so we want His purpose, His plan for our life fulfilled. So we make a decision. God, I want the course of my life to be in line with your will for my life. I want to be where you want me to be. I want to be in the place you want me to be, at the time you want me to be. So I'm going to direct my life by the words I speak. I'm the captain of my ship. I'm going to take responsibility. It's not my wife's fault. It's not my kid's fault. It's not the government's fault. It's not my education's fault. It's not because I was born on the wrong side of the track. My life is my life. I'm responsible for it. You've given me that life. You've called me. And I'm going to dictate the direction of my life by the words I speak. First thing you've got to say, I'm going to make that decision. Everybody with me? Turn to somebody and say, I'm going to make that decision. That's the very first thing we need to do if we're going to get control of our tongue. Make the decision to discipline your words. It's your choice. You're the captain of the ship. Second is you've got to get your heart right. Luke chapter 6, verse 45, Jesus said, out of the abundance, watch this. This is probably the crux of the whole thing right here. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. I elbow the person, tell them, wake up right now, don't miss this. the Holy Ghost elbow. He's talking to you. See, I want you to walk out God's plan for your life. Fulfill purpose. Let life come out of your mouth. Blessing come out of your mouth. Set the course of your life. The words you speak are the rudder of your life. The words you speak unlock the force of faith. Opens the floodgate of faith that can transform. See, there's nothing impossible with God. God withholds no good thing from his people. That's what faith is about. Why trust in anybody else? He owns the cattle on 1,000 hills, all the gold and all the silver. There's no shortage in heaven. It doesn't make any difference what the economy is. It doesn't make any difference who's in the White House. What good does it do to take time complaining and criticizing what's happening? Change your environment by beginning to declare God's word. I'm blessed. My family's blessed. If we're going to control what comes out of our mouth, we've got to get our heart right. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So if you have anything in your heart that's not right, get it right. Repent, confess, get right with God. Don't allow the garbage to pile up. Get rid of it. You're not to be a dump house. Don't let it pile up inside of you. Don't let offense, don't let things continue to contaminate your heart. Keep your heart pure before the Lord. How do you do that? You just keep it open. God, take it out of me. Forgive me. Wash me in your blood. You keep your heart right, and out of it flows, boom, the words of life when your heart is right. So we're going to make the decision that we're going to be disciplined in our words. We're going to take the responsibility of our life. We're going to make that choice. We're going to get our heart right. How do you control what comes out of your mouth? Get your heart right. Second, get your thinking right. The two are really tied together. See, it's in your thinking, or the proverb says that as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So if you're continually thinking wrong, you're going to begin to let things come out of your mouth that are wrong. So quit thinking on the negative. Quit thinking on the bad. Quit thinking on everything that's going wrong. Quit dwelling and meditating on those things. Instead, think on the things that are pure, lovely, right, just. Think on the good things. And out of your mouth then will begin to come out the things, the wellspring of life. If your thinking is right, your heart is right. So if we get those things going, we have a whole lot better opportunity of controlling what comes out of our mouth and speaking what's right. So the fourth thing is, don't talk so much. Be a few words. Proverbs 10:19 says, in the multitude of words, sin is not lacking, but he that restrains his lips is wise. Proverbs 6:2 says we're snared by the words of our mouth. Sometimes it's just better not to say anything. I learn that often when I'm talking with my wife. It's a lot better if I would just let that go. You don't have to say everything you think. How do you control what you're going to say? Just don't say anything. Even if you're a fool, the Bible says if you don't say anything, you'll look smart. You look like a brain. Okay? Fifth, everybody stick with me. We're going to close this up here in just a minute. Always, watch this, always speak at the right time. Controlling what we say. How do you get control of your tongue? You've got to learn to discern when you say something. You can say the right thing at the wrong time and still be in trouble. You can say the right thing, and if it's the wrong time, you've released death into the situation. These are just little nuggets that if you'll take them and you begin to practice them, you're going to see all of a sudden the words that are coming out of your mouth are going to be less foot in the mouth type of things. You're going to begin to speak the things that are right. As we get our heart right, as we get our thinking right, as we don't talk so much, as we choose the right time to say things. The sixth thing is to keep a spirit of humility. We have to understand that the way we do this is not in our ability, but with God's help. How are you going to control what you say? How are you going to make sure life and blessing are coming out of your mouth? You've got to submit to the Lord. God gives grace to the humble. He resists the proud. This isn't about how disciplined and how great we are. This is about how great of God we serve. And if you want to get control of what comes out of your mouth, you've got to have that spirit of humility. The other side of the coin on that is not always talking about yourself. Some people just love to talk about themselves. You know, Proverbs tells us, warns us about this. In Proverbs 27:2, he says, "Let another man praise you and not your own words, a stranger and not your own lips." Nobody likes to hang around somebody that's just full of himself. It's always about them, what they did, how important they are, the things that they did. Same thing in the church. I hear it all the time. Well, because I prayed and because I did this and I did that and I did that, God did that for me. It's because I did this and I did that and I did that. It's good to do those things. It's good to be in church, good to pray. But it's not about you. It's about God. It's about what He did. If you're going to talk about what God did. Spirit of humility. Everybody, here's what I believe. Here's what I think. Great. What's He think? I'm just giving you, talking about what's coming out of your mouth. Getting a hold of that. Zipping that lip. Position yourself so that you're going to speak things that bring forth life into people, that you're going to release blessing into their life. The last thing is think before you speak. James put it this way, he said, be slow to speak and quick to listen. So if you're thinking about saying something, maybe you ought to take a moment and say to yourself, is what I'm going to say, is it really necessary? Jesus said we're going to be judged for every careless word. There are so many things that we say that aren't necessary. Maybe we ought to ask ourselves, is what I'm going to say, is it beneficial? Is it going to bring life? Is it going to bring blessing into the situation? Or is it going to tear somebody down? Is it going to build them up? Ask yourself, is what I'm going to share, what's the motive behind it? Is my motive pure? Is it out of love? Why am I going to say what I'm saying? So many times I'm sitting talking to people and they want input and they're not listening. I can see it. They're looking and thinking about what they're going to say next. They can't wait. They call up and they want to talk. They don't want my input. They want to tell me what they think. Then when you finally start to say something, as soon as you get a little gap in there, they jump right in there to tell you what they're thinking. You see, why are you going to say what you're saying? What's the motive behind it? What are you trying to impress somebody? Are you trying to get your side of the story in? What is the reason? Sometimes we just need to be slow to speak, quick to listen, gauge what we're saying, think before you speak. Let's make sure we're saying things that are right. Don't use words to describe the situation. Use words to change the situation. Don't use your words to complain or be negative. Use words to bring forth the positive. Don't use words to give the devil any place. Don't accentuate the devil. Don't lift him up. Use words to talk about how big God is. You hear people talking about their problems and you think or you think the devil was in control of the situation. Oh, the devil's doing this, the devil's doing that. No, we need to begin to release words about how great God is. God's bigger. God's better. God's got a plan. God can overcome this. God's working this together for good. God is able. Nothing's impossible with Him. This mountain's coming down. This situation's turning around. We've got to begin to speak forth those things, release our faith, and believe God. Never underestimate the impact of your words. Lift up. Use words that lift up. Use words that bring forth praise. Use words that release the power of God into people's life. Don't get stuck in a rut. Don't get stuck talking about the situation. Don't go by what you see. Don't go by what you feel. Release your faith by the word you speak and begin to declare what God says. Every time you speak a negative word, you bring death into your situation. Death and life are in the power of tongue. Here's what we need to do. We need to speak and confess the solution, not the problem. Christians, we ought to be the most positive people on the face of the earth. We ought to have the joy that's unspeakable and full of glory because we have the answer, because we know God is working everything together for good. When you hear this and you apply it, you begin to speak God's word. Tonight, don't walk out of here and start complaining about the message. Just zip your lip. Just say, God's word is good. I'm blessed to be a blessing. My steps are ordered of the Lord. What's the practical application? God's word is full of positive direction, positive reinforcement, of promises, of what God has in store for our life. You have the choice. If you want to talk the problem, talk the problem. If you want to give airtime to the devil, give airtime to the devil. Just know this. Those things bring death. Those things bring cursing into your life. You want your family to be blessed? Your business to be blessed, your life to be blessed, just begin to speak God's word. I'm blessed coming, I'm blessed going. Good news about that is, even if you don't know if you're coming or going, you're blessed. What you put your hand to prospers. If God be for me, who can be against me? Oh, I don't know if I can do it. I just can't do it. Every time I do something, I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. Oh, I just don't know what to do, Pastor Bruce. Can you pray for me? My steps are ordered of the Lord. I'm a child of God. I am led by the Spirit of God. I'm speaking. My children are blessed of the Lord. Don't go by what you see. Go by what God's word says. Call the things that be not as though they are. We don't deny the situation. We're not going around saying this isn't happening or that's not happening. I'm just not going to declare it's happening. I'm going to declare what God's word says. You say, well, that's just like, no, I'm stating what God's word says. I'm not lying. I'm speaking forth the truth of what God's word says. I'm going to stay true to God's word. If you just stay with God's word and speak what God's word says, you'll never get into trouble. Just speak God's word. Find out what God's word says. This is our operator's manual. This is our directions. Do what it says. Follow. Don't be like a man that tries to put the thing together without reading the instructions. Get the instructions out and read it. This is the thing that gives us guidance. We do have an operator's manual. Don't know how to act when you're married? Get out the operator's manual. Don't know how to be a parent? Get out the operator's manual. Don't know what to do? Get out the operator's manual. Don't know how to be a business person? Get out the operating manual. This is our instrument panel. This is our instruction book. And when we begin to speak what it says, we begin to see the blessings of God. We go from glory to glory, strength to strength, and faith to faith. Every head bowed and every eye closed. Let me just ask you, what's coming out of your mouth? What direction is the rudder of your life pointing towards? Death and destruction or life and blessing? You have the ability to change the direction of that rudder. Don't like where you are? Tonight you can change it by speaking forth the right words. Marriage is not going the way it needs to go? Great news. Just begin to change your confession. Change the words that you're speaking, and the marriage will turn around. Just stay true to it. Will it happen tonight? You might not see it tonight, but it will happen tonight if you begin to declare it. We don't go by what we see. We go by what God's word says. And we have to understand that all across this room, every head bowed, every eye closed. And if you're here tonight and you say, you know what? I hear what you're saying, and I need to make a fresh commitment to speaking God's word in my life, to get the rudder of my ship going in the direction God has for my life. I need to release the force of faith in my life for the impossible to happen. I've been just living in a rut. I've just been living in the barely get by, and I need to step into the supernatural, the miracle power of God, and let the force of faith released in my life. And I understand it's through the words that I speak that it's released. I want to pray for those who say, honestly, I want to change the words that are coming out of my mouth. so that only life and blessing are coming out of it. Only grace and love are coming out. All across this room, if you say, that's me, I want to get my language right, I want to get my words right, just lift up your hand and say, pray for me, I need that. Right over here, all across the room. Yes. Yeah, I realize there are going to be lots of hands. There should even be more hands going up, because I just don't think there's that many perfect people. My hand is up. My foot is up. Lord, help me. Help me, Jesus. Help me. Put a guard over my mouth. I don't want to be critical. I don't want to be negative. I don't want to look at the circumstance. I want to bless the president. I want to bless our nation. I want to speak life into our nation. I want to speak life into our church. I want to speak life into my family. I want to speak life into our city. I want to speak life into our teens. I want to speak life. I'm not going to be one who stands up and points the finger. I don't want my tongue to become a weapon. No weapon formed against me will prosper. I want to be one who sends forth a bullet of life, a laser of blessing into people's life all across this room. Say, that's me right now. Just lift your hand. I want to be an agent of God that releases blessing into the atmosphere and environment. I want everybody to stand up with me right now. The most important confession you can make is the confession of Jesus as Lord. What I'm sharing was basically on the premise of living a life God's ordained for, speaking forth God's word to direct our life. But the way that starts is we first have to confess Jesus as Lord. Release that out of our mouth. If you're here tonight and you've never made that confession to make Jesus Lord of your life, I want to pray for you. Or you're here and you've drifted away and you know things aren't right and you want to get right with God, just lift up your hand and say, that's me. I need that prayer right now. Right back over there. Are there others? Say, that's me. I need to make that prayer. Right over here. I need to get right. I need forgiveness in my life. Maybe you need to repent, need the Lord to forgive you. Say, include me in that prayer. I want those who raise their hands to make that commitment to speak forth God's word with power, to become more laser in your word for blessing and for life to be released through you, to come forward, because I want to put myself in agreement. And I know that's many of you saved. You just come right now because this is just your step of faith, of believing God. And as they're coming forward, there's a story. I didn't get to it. I want you to read in Numbers 13 and Numbers 14. It's about the spies who go in to spy out the land. You know the story. 10 came back with a bad report. 2 came back with a good report. The 10, all they could see were the giants. All they could see was the problems. All they could see was the walled city. They came back with a factual report. Oh, we're like grasshoppers in their eyes. We'll be destroyed. We'll go down. We can't do it. But Joshua and Caleb, who had a different spirit, a spirit of faith, said, we are well able. Let us go in at once. They said, why did you bring us here? Why didn't we just stay in the wilderness, die? Why didn't we just stay in Egypt and die? Here's what God told them in Numbers 14, verse 28. He said, you know what? I'm going to give you exactly what you spoke, what actually came out of your mouth. He said, you're going to have exactly what you say. See, some people have a problem with this message. Oh, that name it, claim it bunch. I'm not talking about name and claim it. I'm talking about speaking God's word. God said, you're going to have exactly what you say. Whether you believe what I'm saying or not, you're going to live it anyway. You're going to have what you say. Why not make what you say be blessing? Why not what you say make it what God says about you? Why not say what God says about the situation? That we are overcomers, that we are more than conquerors, that we're going over top, that we are not defeated, but we are victorious, that we are winners, that we are not losers. We are on the winning team. Come on, lift up your hand right now. Father, we thank you right